Patch management is one of those often thankless tasks that all too often gets assigned to whomever happened to draw the short straw. I mean, if you think about all the different WSS administrators you've ever met, how often do you find them just raving about the job they have to do? Most people really dread the monthly patch cycle with Microsoft, and even though the technologies and the tools to use them are much easier than they were back in the day, still doing patch management is in many ways a tedious exercise in making sure that the right updates end up on the correct machines. Now, thankfully, patch management with the introduction of Windows Server Update services has gotten quite a bit better than was it a generation ago. If you recall back not too long ago, there were a lot of different solutions out in the third party that were there ostensibly to help you with your patch management process. Well, when Microsoft released WSS, strangely, a lot of those third party tools just simply disappeared. There are a few of them still left, but in many ways, WSS solved a very big problem in such a really good way, honestly, that an entire third party ecosystem of solutions more or less vanished overnight. Whether or not it is your job to do patch management, understanding WSS is an important function of doing any kind of server administration. And so here in this module, we'll talk about how you go through more or less an end-to-end implementation of WSS, starting with the installation and configuration of the WSS role. Now that installation can be done in a variety of different ways. The biggest decision you have to make is whether or not you'll be installing WSS with or without the use of SSL. I'll show you the basic sort of introductory way you can get WSS up and online. I'll also show you the extra steps you'd have to go through in order to roll SSL into your WSS infrastructure. You don't find a lot of environments doing that, except in the case where they have some legal requirement or regulatory requirement, or a set of reasonably cantankerous security professionals. That configuration of WSS requires a couple of other tasks as well, not the least of which is understanding synchronization. Now, obviously, if you have a single WSS server, you've got to sync it to Microsoft Update, but there are some different configurations for WSS that will facilitate you to have a single server talking to Microsoft, and then distributing those updates down to down-level servers somewhere else inside your LAN. So synchronization is not just to Microsoft, but also between the different WSS servers you may have. We'll talk also about WSS groups. There are two ways in which you can implement WSS groups, either via server-side targeting or via client-side targeting. The client-side targeting functionality uses group policy as the main mechanism to deploy out those targeting configurations. So we also have to talk about the couple of group policies you'll need to know for implementing these settings at the client side. And then lastly, we have here a task which is honestly a bit confounding even to me, titled Manage Patch Management in Mixed Environments. And I call this task confounding because the word mixed could really mean a lot of different things. Does it mean that Microsoft wants you to know how to deliver updates to different operating systems? Does it mean they want you to know how to deliver updates across different WSS platforms? I've done a little research here and I have a guess as to what Microsoft needs. But to be perfectly honest, your guess is as good as mine in terms of what Microsoft is thinking when they describe patch management in, quote, mixed environments.